Hey, today we're learning 50 phrases for your meetings at work. Let's go. First, let's talk about some phrases for getting your meeting started. You need to start off with some type of greeting, and this can be as simple as good morning, everyone, good afternoon, everyone, or hi, everyone, if you work in a less formal environment. But if you're not sure, it's safer to go with good morning, everyone, or hello, everyone. So with your greeting, just keep it short, sweet, and polite. Another option is welcome, everyone. This one might be more appropriate for a monthly or quarterly meeting that you don't have as often. Welcome, everyone. Again, short, sweet, and simple. After your greeting, you can say, let's get started. Let's get started. And you can also use this one before you go through the agenda for the meeting, all right? Another useful phrase is, shall we begin? Shall we begin or let's begin? So let's get started, shall we begin, or let's begin. These three are quite similar. You can choose any one. And another option is, I'd like to start by. I'd like to start by, okay? I'd like to start by, and after by, you need to use a gerund. So this is a verb with ing. For example, I'd like to start by going through this point. I'd like to start by thanking everyone for their hard work this month. So remember that after I'd like to start by, you need to use a gerund or verb with ing. Now, these greetings and these opening phrases might seem simple and possibly unnecessary to you. However, that is not the case. It is always important to start off by greeting people, being polite. You need some type of opening phrase, right? Imagine that you walk into a meeting or a presentation and the speaker dives right in to the main content of the meeting. It can be a little bit off-putting and very abrupt, very sudden, right? So the purpose of these greetings and these opening phrases are just to nicely transition in to the content of the meeting. Now, sometimes in business meetings, you'll be in a situation in which you have to introduce yourself or you're meeting with someone who you haven't met before. So here are some phrases you can use to introduce yourself. Of course, you need to start with your name. And in many professional situations, it's common and customary and expected to introduce yourself with your full name. So you could simply say, my name is Julie Candice. Or more commonly, instead of my name is, people often say I'm, okay? I'm Julie Candice. I'm Julie Candice, nice to meet you. Or I'm Julie, nice to meet you. So whichever you feel is more appropriate or more comfortable for you, you can use my name is or I'm. And decide if you need to introduce yourself by your first name only or with your full name. Another useful phrase is I'm in charge of. I'm in charge of. Now, this is useful when you are introducing yourself to someone from another company or to a potential client. So for instance, you could say, I'm in charge of training and development. I'm in charge of training and development. So together, these phrases would sound like this. I'm Julie Candice. I'm in charge of training and development. Alternatively, you could say, I am responsible for. I'm responsible for training and development here. Okay, I'm responsible for training and development. Now, after you've introduced yourself, you need to introduce your topic or the reason for this meeting, very briefly. So to do this, you could say, I'm here to discuss, talk about, or share something with you. Okay, I'll say that again. I'm here to discuss, which is a little more formal. I'm here to talk about, which is a little more neutral, or I'm here to share something with you. And if you're sharing something, this might be appropriate for a client presentation, for instance. And one more great phrase for introducing yourself to someone new in a meeting is, it's a pleasure to meet you, it's lovely to meet you, or it's great to meet you. You can choose any variation that you're comfortable with. It's a pleasure to meet you, it's lovely to meet you, or it's great to meet you. And as you notice, there are lots of little variations and different versions and changes to these statements, okay? So they're not set in stone. You can change one or two words and adjust these phrases so that they're comfortable for you to remember and use. Okay, so generally after your greetings and your pleasantries and your introductions, you're gonna need to introduce the agenda for your meeting. So here are some phrases you can use. You can simply say, the purpose of today's meeting is. The purpose of today's meeting is to discuss. The purpose of today's meeting is to finalize. The purpose of today's meeting is to brainstorm something, and you can finish the sentence, all right? So with this phrase, you're gonna add a verb, an action verb. The purpose of today's meeting is to do something. Another useful phrase is the main topics on today's agenda are. The main topics on today's agenda are. And this one is also useful if you have a presentation or a slideshow to accompany you during your meeting and you have your agenda written down. You can simply run through your bullet points or your agenda for the meeting. Next, we'll cover or go over the following topics. We'll cover or go over the following topics. And one more alternative, the objective of today's meeting is. The objective of today's meeting. So this one's a little bit different because here you're going to talk about the main goal of today's meeting, all right? So these phrases again are very useful for going through the agenda or objectives for your meeting. Now, another part of meetings is asking for people's opinion. It's not a one-way conversation. Generally, there's some discussion in meetings, right? So here are some phrases for asking for opinions. First up, we have, what are your thoughts? Or, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts? Or, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. You can use either one, whichever one you like better. Can I get your opinion on this? Can I get your opinion on this? Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any suggestions? And if a colleague is leading the meeting with you, you might ask your colleague, would you like to add anything? Or is there anything you would like to add? So sometimes we have to ask for people's opinions, and sometimes in meetings we have the opportunity to share our opinions. So these phrases are for sharing or giving your own opinion. A classic one, in my opinion, and then go ahead and share your idea, okay? In my opinion, this might not work because. Another one, from my point of view, and then go ahead and share your opinion. I think that is a very simple one. It seems to me that, or based on something, I would say that, okay? So for example, based on our previous project, I would say that we need to rethink this point. Based on our previous project, I would say that we need to rethink this point. And I like this one because you are giving an opinion based on something, based on some kind of evidence, based on some kind of experience, based on facts, based on statistics. So this is a really nice one. And notice I've left out the phrase, I feel, okay? It's not that this is a bad phrase, but I feel is not a very strong phrase for professional situations, and it's based more on emotion rather than on facts. And it's always better to go with factual opinions rather than emotional opinions in professional situations. So just keep that in mind. I've left that one out of this list intentionally. Another thing you might have to do in your meetings is clarify or confirm something. So here are some useful phrases for clarifying and confirming. The first one is just to clarify. This one is very easy to use. You simply say, just to clarify, and then go ahead and repeat whatever you think you've understood. And the other person will say, yes, that's correct, or not exactly. And then they will explain or clarify for you. Another option, if I've understood correctly, and again, go ahead and say whatever you have understood. Repeat whatever you've understood. So we're in agreement that, okay? So here you are confirming that you are in agreement with the group or with a specific person, that you're on the same page. Another option, so say what you've understood. So whatever you've understood, is that correct? So you're asking for ABC, is that correct? And can we all agree that, okay? Can we all agree that? This phrase is nice for when you have been discussing a point and you kind of want to wrap it up, but you want to confirm that everyone is on the same page. So you could say, can we all agree that this point is not urgent for now? Can we all agree that this point is not urgent? Now, throughout your meeting, you might need to summarize some information, especially in a longer meeting. Sometimes in a shorter meeting, you can summarize right at the end. However, if you're discussing a lot of different points and there's a lot of information, it's also useful to summarize before you move on to the next point, okay? So perhaps you can summarize each point on your agenda. And here are some phrases you can use to summarize. A nice one is, okay, let's review what we've covered. Okay, let's review what we've covered. And then go ahead and make your summary. A classic one, to summarize. To summarize, and then go ahead and summarize. Another option is in summary. In summary. Or to recap. To recap. And another one, so what we've discussed so far is, or what we've covered so far. So what we've discussed so far is, or what we've covered so far is. Now, when it comes to making decisions during your meetings, try using these phrases. So we've decided that. Now, this is to confirm that we have made this decision together. Again, if you're having a discussion and one of the objectives of the meeting is to reach a decision on something, or if you're trying to reach a decision with a client, you could say, so we've decided that, and then just repeat whatever the decision is. Another nice and simple one, our decision is. Our decision is, and then complete your sentence. You can also say, let's proceed with option A. Let's proceed with option A. Or I suggest we proceed with option A. I suggest we proceed with option A. Assigning tasks or delegating work is another thing that you might have to do in meetings. So here are some phrases that you can use. If you would like to ask for volunteers, you can say, who would like to take care of this task? Who would like to take care of this task? Now be careful with this one. You have to make sure that you know your team and you know the people who you're speaking with. If you have a team that eagerly volunteers or usually volunteers, then of course you can ask this question. But if you have a team that is a little more timid and needs a little more guidance or direction, you might not want to ask for volunteers. So just be careful, consider the situation and consider who you are asking. Another option is to directly ask one individual, can you take care of this task? Or if you are going to do a task, you can say, I'll handle this. I will handle this. You might need to assign a task to someone who is not present in the meeting. So you could say, let's assign this task to Joe. I'll speak to him about it. Let's assign this task to Joe. I'll speak to him about it. Another one is, I will follow up on this, or someone else will follow up on this. So Joe will follow up on this, or I'll get Joe to follow up on this. This structure is used when you are giving a task to someone else to complete. I will get someone to do something. I'll get Joe to follow up on this. And some phrases for wrapping up, finishing up, or concluding your meeting. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your input or participation. You can change this last word. It depends on, again, the situation, the context. Does anyone have any final comments or questions? Does anyone have any final comments or questions? This concludes our meeting. This concludes today's meeting. This one is a little bit formal. If you want to be a little more neutral or more conversational, you can say, that's all for today. That's all for today. Or I think we've covered everything for today. Okay, so there are some options here. That concludes our meeting. That's all for today, or we've covered everything for today. We'll reconvene next week. We'll reconvene next week. Reconvene is a nice verb. It means to meet again. We'll reconvene next week. And if you've been leading the meeting, you can say, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. You can also use these phrases in combination with each other. So for example, you might say something like, That's all for today. Does anyone have any final comments or questions? Okay. And if not, you can say, thank you so much for your time. So you can use more than one of these or any combination of them that works. Now, learning versatile phrases like this is a fantastic way for you to become more confident and to speak up in common situations like meetings. If you are trying to take your professional English to the next level, make sure you check out the Essential English for Business course. This is a self-study online business English course that covers all the fundamentals that you need to communicate confidently, clearly, and professionally in English. I will link it down below so you can check it out. As well, I have created a free ebook for you, English Conversations Made Simple. This is to help you have more confident conversations in English. It's totally free. Click the link below this lesson. And if you enjoyed this lesson, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe because it really does help the channel to grow and to reach other English learners around the world. Thank you so much for watching, for learning, and spending time with me today. I'll see you very soon in another one.